and welcome to another fun science lesson. It is I, Mr. Brett, naturalist for the Three Rivers Park District, located at the Lowry Nature Center in the great state of Minnesota, and each and every one of those 10,000 plus lakes, working again with our friends from Tierney on an amazing lesson that definitely involves water. And we know Minnesota's got a lot of lakes, but that isn't where it stops. No, we have so many other bodies of water, from the rivers to the streams to even what we're talking about today, the pond. Sure, you may have a pond in your neighborhood. There may be a pond somewhere near your house that you've driven past, walked past a million times in your life, and never once have you stopped to wonder, stopped to think, and even investigate what exactly is going on in that pond. Today, we dive into the pond. We see who's living there. We talk about how important they are to the environment outside. I'll show you the equipment that you're going to need. Let's get started. Alright, so a lot of you have seen a pond. Maybe it was once, maybe it was multiple times. And if you have one near your house, in your neighborhood, near your school, wherever, you've been in, well, hopefully not in, but around ponds. And if you were to think, if we were to kind of make a list of all the animals that we've seen or that could live at the pond, it could turn out to be a pretty impressive list. Because let's be clear, the pond is a very great place for an animal's habitat. And a habitat is a place where an animal finds food, water, shelter, air, all the things that a living thing needs in order to survive. But the pond is more than just a habitat. It is an ecosystem. An ecosystem is made up of living parts and non-living parts interacting depending upon one another. Those living parts, the plants, the animals, the non-living parts, the water, the rocks, the soil. And if you were to remove a couple of those parts, the system wouldn't work. I often compare it to, let's say, a Lego house. You take just one Lego out of the Lego house, the house is probably just fine. You take multiple Lego pieces out of that house, it crumbles to the ground, and no Lego person can live there for the foreseeable future. That's kind of how an ecosystem works. Now, I have drawn a picture of a pond, and please bear with me, because as I've stated multiple times, I am not an artist, I am a naturalist, so if you feel the need to laugh and chuckle, I guess that's fine, but try to be nice. I give to you, without further waiting, ta-da! The pond. Now, some of the animals you see on here might have been ones you were thinking of. Animals like turtles and frogs and fish, absolutely. But we also see, especially this time of year in Minnesota, we see geese and ducks nesting along the shores. We see red-winged blackbirds back, tall egrets roaming the shallows looking for food. Maybe if it's a big enough pond or wetland, there's a beaver. Nocturnal animals like raccoons, sure, we don't see them during the day, but they're definitely leaving footprints. Maybe even cool stuff like scat, which, by the way, is animal poop. That's right. So yeah, all of those cool things. However, none of these animals is the single most important one in the pond ecosystem. That, my friends, belongs to that right there. Do you see it, this teeny tiny speck? Some of you are like, no, Mr. Brett, we can't see that teeny tiny speck. Don't worry, I'll help. I'll make it easier to notice. Check it out right there. Put a box around it. Ta-da! The speck! And no, that's not the actual animal, but this is representing the aquatic invertebrates, all those teeny tiny little insects and crustaceans and arachnids that call the pond home, that, let's be clear, just on top of the plants, are holding up everything in this pond. You're like, Mr. Brad, egrets don't eat those aquatic invertebrates. All right, maybe they don't, but they eat the fish that eat the bugs. And you're like, well, Mr. Brett, the raccoons, they don't really eat those bugs either. You're right, but they eat the frogs that eat the bugs. If the bugs disappear, we don't see this, or this, or this, or this. Everything falls apart. Today, we're gonna go explore one of the ponds in my neighborhood to see who's living there. I encourage you to, maybe with your parents, find a pond near you. I'll show you the equipment you're gonna need next. Alright, so one of my favorite things about going off to do a pond study is you really don't need anything all that special. One, you need something to collect water with, some sort of mini aquarium, and let's be clear, the mini aquarium can also double as your collection device. Simple plastic white bowl. It could be a Cool Whip container, some sort of, now don't be grabbing the nice stuff from your parents' cupboards, but some sort of Tupperware bowl. The white is great because you can see everything moving underneath it, but it doesn't have to be, you're going to use this to get water. Now, this can be the mini aquarium your things are swimming around in. Again, you could just scoop with this. Or if you have one of these, you could also then, once you've got water in here, use this to scoop around the pond. You're going to see in a moment that I have a much larger net that's just used for gathering stuff from a larger area. But these two things work perfect. Alright, so this is one of the small ponds in my neighborhood. I've got my equipment with me. I'm going to start scooping and see what kind of cool things we can find. Alright, first things first, need to get some water in my bucket here. Now as I'm doing this, of course, I don't have my greatest shoes on because I might get a little wet, but trying to be as careful as I can, getting water in here. I will probably catch some stuff just by scooping in the water like that. And already I see a leech in here. Amazing. Now I'm going to use my net, see what kind of cool things I can find with this. Alright, so here's some water from the pond, and I've got it in a small little glass dish on top of a light table so it's easier to see, and a couple things jump out right away. Those two worm-like things, those are leeches. Leeches can live in water that isn't all that clean. So if all I would have found in there were some leeches and a couple little teeny tiny specks moving around, probably tells me my water's not in all that great of shape. However, that large six-legged thing at the bottom of the screen is, in fact, a dragonfly nymph. Basically a dragonfly baby. They need far cleaner water, so finding that in this pond lets me know it's a good indication that this pond is in some pretty good shape. Now, if we look closely, we may even see some small little dots moving around here and there, which, let's be honest, most of the stuff in the pond is teeny tiny. To look at that, I've got a microscope with a camera attached to it so we can get a closer look. So this is a damselfly nymph. Damselflies are related to the dragonflies, and as a damselfly nymph, it is a baby. I mean, nymphs are like larvae, however, larvae are basically look like little worm-type caterpillar things. Nymphs look like smaller versions of the adult. You can see here is its head on either side of the two black eye spots. You can count. There are 6 legs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we follow along its abdomen, we have these weird feather-like extensions on the end. These are its external gills. It's different than the dragonfly who have internal gills, but this is how it breathes underwater. Damselflies and dragonflies are one of the predators in the insect world in the pond. Now this is a rather small one. They usually are bigger than this. Also, finding this, damselflies and dragonflies tend to be good indicators that we have a relatively healthy pond on our hands. So this is a copepod, one of these small, teeny tiny crustaceans that live in the pond. It's a crustacean that has more than 6 legs. Small little one, and you can actually see here, this one is a female. These two large oval-shaped blobs are her egg sacs. Crazy cool thing about so many of these teeny tiny little invertebrates that live in the pond, their exoskeleton is often transparent, so we can see inside, and you can see that slow pulsating of her digestive system as it moves food throughout her body. So this is a Daphnia, or a water flea. If you think about the period at the end of a sentence, this is about how big she is. It is a crustacean. It is not an insect. However, lots of crustaceans live, and let's be honest, most of the crustaceans live in the water. Up front here, that dark little circle is her eye spot. Just along her back, this clear area, in and amongst all the darkness, if you look, you can see that pulsating. That is her heart, the center of her circulatory system in her body. If we follow along her back, you'll notice these yellowish kind of orbs. She's carrying eggs. Next to that is a long, kind of darkish tube. As a teeny tiny water flea, she has 1 entry and 1 exit. So actually it looks, bonus, she has recently gone to the bathroom. She is a filter feeder. She will take her little legs, and we can kind of see them moving a little bit in there. She will create a current of water that goes past her face, and she'll pick any sort of debris, plant, animal, out of the water. So even so, also not just important in the food chain, but one of the cleaners of the pond as well. So here's an even smaller Daphnia than the one we just saw. I mean, this teeny tiny little speck in the water. So unbelievably important. Sure, it's so tiny. However, without it, things like osprey wouldn't exist. Osprey, those big hawk-like raptors that only eat fish. Well, The fish that they're eating are eating smaller fish that are eating smaller fish that are eating bugs that are eating smaller bugs that are eating this teeny tiny thing here. This little Daphnia doesn't exist. Neither does the osprey. Well, thanks again for hanging out with me today. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you learned some things. I hope you had some fun too. If you are looking for more information on the Three Rivers Park District, you can visit our website. If you're looking for more content to go along with the lesson, the video from today, you can visit Tierney's website. My name is Brett Seaborn. Until we see each other again, get outside. Goodbye, my friends. Thanks for letting us learn and explore the pond. Good luck this summer. See you later. Even the leeches are gone.